basically have to film myself teaching, so my supervisor can watch me, make sure I'm not beating any kids.
What?
I know.
What if
scary.
I fainted
You're
and then you
awesome.
had to like save my life next time that you
But just pretend like it's not there. Don't worry about it. Don't make funny faces at it. Just focus up front. Sure you got it best.
Dude, that's awesome.
Thank you. All right. So what I would like everyone to do right now is get out your outline maps that you worked on yesterday, please. Thank you. Okay, you're asked to work at the front part. Everyone have it out?
Yep.
Everyone raise it above their heads.
It depends.
Everyone raise it above their heads. Jill, Drew? Good? Nope, we're gonna grade it. Just wanna make sure everyone's got it done. Wave like flag? Yep, that works. Go ahead, man. Get for something or something. Alright, okay.
No, we're supposed to do one.
Alright, so what I'm going to do, you're going to grade your own. I'm going to read the questions. I'll ask you guys to raise your hands. You can ask me, or you can answer the question for me. So, question number 1. From about what latitude to what longitude, or I'm sorry, what latitude to what latitude did the original 13 states extend? Preston.
47 north, 30 north.
I got 25 to 35 north, 40 to 50 north.
Is that good?
That is not what I had.
30, okay, so if your first number is anywhere between 25 to 35, and your second number is anywhere between 40 to 50, that's correct.
Okay, well, let's go backwards.
You put
What
it
if
back.
your first number was wrong and your second number was right?
Your first number's wrong, it's wrong. They both need to be right, yes.
I screwed these numbers.
That's not right.
I just put them around.
Got it, Drew?
Yeah, it's okay.
Alright, so the first answer is, let me see. Alright, you're right. Okay. Number 2. What is the approximate distance in miles from the northernmost point of the original 13 states to the southernmost point? Who's got number 2? Welch?
1,800.
1,800, I cannot take that. Jill?
1,500.
1,500, I'll take that. So if you have any, okay, so how about this? If you have 1,450 miles, do plus or minus. So anywhere between 1,350 and 1,550. That's
Okay,
correct.
What about 1,000?
Anywhere between 1,350 and
I have
1,550.
question number 1 that Sean answered.
What's up?
Okay, well, he's coming backwards.
Backwards, you can count that.
Wait, is this one you put?
Yep. 1,350 between 1,550, yes.
So what about 12? That's 1,200. I've got the other one.
If it's not between those two numbers, it's wrong. Number 3. Which bodies of water separate the United States and British territory to the north? I want you to be talking. You raise your hands, I call on you. Eric?
The Great Lakes, except for like Michigan.
Great Lakes?
Is that flag?
Okay, that's correct. So I'll take you St. Lawrence or Great Lakes.
Yay, that's a like.
Alright, number 4. Are most of Pennsylvania's boundaries physical, formed by natural features, or political, formed by people? How can you tell? Easton?
They're formed by people because they have some straight edges, not like all those things that are.
Right, they're political, because they have straight edges. Like, if you guys look on a map, you'll actually notice out west, you'll see a lot of straight edge boundaries instead of a lot of, little squiggles that are formed by rivers and mountains. Yes?
But in the east, isn't it formed by
Yeah, that's why I put this.
That's why it says at most, are most Pennsylvania boundaries, so.
But what happens if you put that and then also political by a reverse?
Mark it as a half point, I'd say a half point. Alright, number 5. What present-day states were formed out of land that was part of the original 13 states? Jill?
Maine and Vermont.
That's 2 of them.
What, more?
Yeah,
I thought, isn't there 3?
there's 3.
Oh, I named all of them.
Eric?
West Virginia.
West Virginia. Maine, Vermont, West Virginia.
We can have one of them.
Yeah.
Can we have 2 of them?
If you only have 1, one, count it wrong. If you have two, count it as a half point. If you get all three, congratulations, you got a full point. Number 6. Roughly what line of longitude was the westernmost boundary of the United States in 1790? Jill?
That's right, because I got the other one, 90 was.
That's what I had.
I'll take it. Okay, so if it's between 80 or 90, I'll take it.
What happens if you have 93?
That's wrong. Yeah, between 80 and 90. Number 7. Which is the only state that does not border the Atlantic Ocean? One state. Cecil, you got it? Pennsylvania, you're right, sir. Alright, so put a grade out of 7 on that, please. Pass them forward. While you're passing them forward, bust out your textbooks, page 233 or 234. Get out your notebooks. We're gonna take notes.
I'm waiting to chance.
No name.
Yeah, make sure you got your name on it, guys.
I'll put it on there.
Start grade, no name.
Okay, I can't spell that right. If you like it,
Do it. I'll check it later.
Wait, you need more. What page are we on?
We're on page 234 of your textbooks. Get out your textbooks. Get out your notebooks, please. Textbooks and notebooks. If you just have questions about the homework assignment, you can ask me after school today. So, we're going to be talking about the ratifying of the Constitution. While you guys are getting out your stuff, you can notice you have an outline of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about federalism, Federalist, Federalist Papers, Anti-Federalist, George Mason, Bill of Rights. These 4 definitions, I know they all have the same word in them, so it might be kind of confusing. Here's the cool thing about it though, they're all connected. So, it's really easy to remember. If you remember one of them, you should be able to get all of them. And these 2 are connected as well. So, it's the outline. If you want to, you can write it in your notebooks for a source. Or you can just look off it for reference. Either is fine. So, last week we talked about the creation of the Constitution. We talked about 2 plans, or not last week, I'm sorry, yesterday. We talked about 2 plans. Who can name one of the plans for me? Who can name one of the plans? You got it, bud? What's that? New Jersey plans, correct. Could you also tell me a characteristic of it? What's that? New Jersey plan was for the smaller states, actually. And an easy way to remember that, what state's bigger, New Jersey or Virginia?
Virginia.
Alright, so kind of think of that like just geographic size, that New Jersey's a smaller state, so it represents the smaller state plan. What are some other characteristics of the New Jersey plan? Yeah?
Equal amount of votes to every state.
Equal amount of votes to every state. Very good. Now who can tell me what part of our government that represents right now? Did we talk about this yesterday?
Yep.
Okay. The Senate, is he right?
Yep.
Raise your thumb up if you think he's right. Raise your thumb down if you think he's wrong.
It's Congress.
No, don't go back, man, you had it. That was perfect. Don't worry
I was
about it.
right?
Yeah, you were absolutely right. I just want to make sure the rest of the class is good. Yeah, the Senate, it's equal votes, so that represents the New Jersey plan. Very good. So what was the other plan that we talked about yesterday? Preston? Virginia plan, very nice. Could you also tell me what a characteristic of that was?
It wanted bigger states to have more people to represent them because they're bigger.
Right. They wanted, the Virginia plan wanted basically to have a population size vote. They wanted voting to be based on population because in the end they would have more representation so they could have a bigger influence in our politics. Very good. Alright, so it seems like you guys remember everything from yesterday. So we're going to get started. The title of these notes, you can call them Ratifying the Constitution. I'll give you a second to write that down. I'll have a second to write the outline too if you need to. For bonus points, do you want to tell me who drafted the Virginia plan and the New Jersey plan? Jill?
James Madison did the Virginia plan and William Patterson did the.
Very good. Good work. Very nice. Very, very good. I'm not sure. Will that be on their test? Probably.
Madison definitely will be. I don't think I put Madison.
There you go. Alright, so, get on rolling. So the first one we're going to talk about is federalism. It's a huge part of our government, even today. You know, it's been over 226 years, and we're still this type of government. So who can tell me, or who can define federalism? What is a federalism type of government? Jacob, why don't you try to take a crack at it? What do you think federalism is? Like a federalism type of government. It's the government we have today, so I mean, it's pretty easy to define.
System of government in which power is shared.
Shared by who? This is very important.
Pass.
Who can help them out? Shared by, you know what you got? Who?
The central and the state government.
Perfect. Central, which is another word for national, so very good. Central government's a good term. So yeah, the power is shared by the central government and the state government. Nice. I'll pop that definition up for you guys. So, if you want the technical definition, there it is, or you can use the one that Welch gave you. Power shared by central and state. So, a system of government which power is shared between the national and state government. This is the pillar of what our government is founded on, federalism. It's really important. Here's a second to write that one down. Why is it important? Like, why would we go to this system? Why would we go against any other kind of system? Why weren't we a monarchy? Why weren't we a tyranny? Why weren't we a parliament? Preston?
Because the last thing I want to do is give one person all the power like the king.
Right, because who did we just rebel against?
A king.
Right, we just rebelled against, well, not just him, but Great Britain in general. But yeah, that was their form of government. They did not want to represent that form of government. Very good. Okay, so, I just asked the question, why would Americans choose the idea of federalism over the government systems? You just said it. They didn't want to become a king. Now look at this. Now this picture is actually in a newspaper, you know, back in the day, during this time. And it's a snake, and you see those little words, like, what do you think those letters represent?
States.
Right, they represent the states, right?
New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts.
Yep. Preston, you nailed it. Right, so these are the states. And as you know, it's kind of a dead snake, it's all divided up, it says join or die. What do you think they mean by that? You take a second to think about it. Everyone just read that, kind of think about what that message means. Like, whoever drew this cartoon, what do you think he was trying to send a message to the governors or mayors or whatever of the separate states? I'm going to take a few seconds to look at it.
Why did they put New England instead of all states?
Cecil?
Okay, like, what is he trying to get at? Like, is that what you're
Yeah, like what is he getting at?
Like, if they don't join together, they're gonna fail?
Right. So the states, if they don't join together to, like, into what? What is he like? What should they join? Like, not a snake, but what do they want to join to? Eric?
They wanted to become one nation, undivided, because if they are divided, they are vulnerable to attack and may become under British control again.
Right, you nailed
The
it.
last thing they want.
Exactly. So, this little cartoonist is saying, if you don't join, become one nation, if we stay under the Articles of Confederation, if we stay as separate states, we'll die. We won't last. We will not make it through. So it kind of tells you why they wanted this type of they wanted the federalism type of government. Okay, so, now we talk about federalism, we're going to talk about federalists and anti-federalists. Pretty simple to figure out what the fight's about. Yeah?
Federalists wanted it and anti-federalists didn't.
Pretty much, yeah, I mean, and again, like I told you guys, I know it's kind of complicated to have 4 words all sound the same, but if you think about it, it's simple. Federalism is a type of government. A federalist is a person who supports government. Like if I was a Democrat, I support the Democratic Party. If I'm a Federalist, I support the federalism type of government. If I'm an anti-federalist, what does anti mean?
Not.
Right, not, no, against. So, pretty simple. And we'll get to Federalist Papers on a little bit. Okay. So real quick though, did either group dislike government? Federalism was a type of government, so did anti-federalists dislike all government?
No.
Raise your hand if you think no. Raise your hand if you think yeah. Hey, all right, good work. Yeah, federalism, they didn't dislike government. They just didn't like this type of government. So, just so that you guys know, some people I think get confused about anti-federalists saying that they dislike government. They don't dislike all government. Okay, so, big red word again, federalists. We're gonna talk about them, and Preston already kind of said it. Who can also tell me? Kinsey, could you tell me what a federalist is again?
It's where they share their power.
That's federalism. They share their power. So what do you think? Remember, a federalist is a person. So what would a federalist be? Remember my example, if I'm a Democrat, that means I support the Democrat Party. So if I'm a federalist, what's that mean? I think you're thinking about it. Just go on and say it. You don't know? Alright, so let's go back. Federalism, what's that again? Anybody? You got it, Eric?
I just can't remember it now.
It's alright. So let's go back. So Welch?
Power shared between the central and state government.
That's right. Remember, look at your notes. You guys should be writing. If you're not writing this stuff down, you need to be. Federalism, power shared by the central and state government. So, what is a federalist? Yeah?
People who support the Constitution.
People who support the Constitution. People who support federalism. Our Constitution is an example of federalism. So, a federalist, now everyone needs to be writing this down, a federalist is a person who supports the Constitution and the federalism that it represents. So, if you haven't written this stuff down, make sure you are. Alright, so those who support the Constitution. Alright, so, we talked about federalists, we know what they do now. Now we're going to think about characteristics of them. So, what I would like everyone to do is kind of look at that. Look at it for like 20, 25 seconds. Kind of think of characteristics. If you need help, you can find them on page 235. If not, you can kind of put it in your own words though. I like to see you guys do it in your own words. Take 20, 25 seconds, think about it. I'm going to try to give everyone a chance. I will be calling on people who haven't spoke. No one is safe.
What was the question?
Right there.
Oh, I didn't have
So, think about characteristics of federalists. Think about them. I'm going to be asking people what they are, and there's 3 up there we need to identify. Jacob, can you start us off?
They were sharing government with the central and state government.
Sharing government with central and state government. See if that's the first one or not. Alright, so we'll talk about this one first. Supported removing the powers from states. So everyone needs to write down 3 characteristics of Federalist. Write 1, 2, and 3. This can be your number 1. So, supported removing the powers from states. Now, states didn't like this because the article was Confederation. Remember, it gave states a lot of what? Yeah, say it out loud. Power, right. They gave them a lot of power, so the states really didn't like this one. Or the anti-federalists didn't like this one, I should say. So, federalists supported removing powers from states. What kind of powers do you guys think those are? What kind of powers would they have removed?
Supervision.
Yeah?
Taxing.
Alright, so some taxation, yeah, what else? Anything else? You guys can just shout them out at this point.
Enforcing.
Enforcing laws, yeah.
Creating laws.
Creating laws, right. Very good. Yeah, you guys are nailing it. So they wanted to take those powers away from the states. Alright, number 2. Tell me a number 2. Yeah.
Favored dividing powers among different branches of government.
Yeah, they wanted to divide powers amongst different branches of government. Number 2? Yep. Nailed it. Alright, so we're talking about dividing powers dividing powers between the branches. I know we've talked about this before, and me and Mr. Clerk's are going to be trying to get it in your head now, so you guys know about your time of civics next year. What are the three branches of government? Adam?
Legislative, judicial, and executive.
Lovely. Is he right? Yeah, he's absolutely right. Perfect. Judicial, legislative, executive. Stop staring at the camera. Okay. Alright, so dividing powers, that's what these are. These three branches, we divide those powers. They all have different powers. Executive enforces the laws. Legislative makes the laws. Judicial interprets the laws. They're the ones who say they're constitutional or not. So they all have very important powers. So that's what they were talking about. Alright, I'm going to give you the last one. My bad. Forgot to ask you guys. Alright, so a single person leading executive branch. Do we have this today?
Yep.
Yeah, who is this?
President.
Obama.
Yeah, President Obama currently. And soon to be elections in November, so it could be a new president for all we know. Never know.
Well,
So, single person leading the executive branch. What was it like? So, why was this important? Was there like a different alternative during the discussion of that Charlie Brown video we watched? Was there a different alternative that people were thinking about?
Yes.
Or what was it? Remember?
Three people.
Yeah, one of the delegates said we should have three people lead the executive branch. So really different. All right, so write these things down. Does anyone have any questions about Federalists at all? Any of their characteristics, like what they represented, what they wanted? No. Okay, so again, Federalists. I'll write this next to our outline, just so you guys know. These guys supported the Constitution. The Constitution right now is already signed. We know this. It's in place. Now it's all up to the states to ratify it. So the Federalists are for it. Anti-Federalists aren't for it. But eventually they will be, because we're going to get to this little part. Easton, you got a question?
I have a question.
What's up?
So if the Constitution today, like, got ruined or something, like, would we have
Ruined.
it back?
Rowan Town.
Like, burned.
Oh, dude, we have countless. I mean, I'm sure I'd be shocked if there was a Constitution laying around here on the wall somewhere. I don't know. But the original, I mean, it's more of a symbol. It's kind of like Mount Rushmore, like, Lincoln Memorial. It's there, we have it, but if it got burned to the ground, we already know what it says, so it'd be sad, but we know what it is.
What would rewrite it to make it look old?
Yeah, I
They
mean,
have sunburned edges.
oh, it's completely correct. I mean, it's all parchment, it's all crinkled and brown. He picks it up and just fall in pieces. You haven't, like, have you guys seen, like, the Da Vinci Code or National Treasure or anything? Like, you see those, like, glass cases they keep all those old papers in? They actually starve away oxygen and air. They're airtight. So there's nothing in there to affect the document, to like preserve it for as long as possible. Yeah, it wouldn't. I mean, it would suck, but it wouldn't terribly matter. All right, so we're gonna talk about powers taken away, so we'll go away from that. Okay, yeah. What about what about modern times? Is there powers that the national government has taken away more recently? It doesn't have to be like last year or this year. It could be like the last century or 50 years. Doesn't matter. But think about some, powers have been taken away. The amendments is my tip, my hint. What are some powers that we've taken away? Well, okay, how about this? What is the power that we took away after Civil War?
Slavery.
Yeah, that was a state right. Slavery was absolutely a state right. States had the right to say, I want to be a slave state. And basically, the amendments, the national central government, like Walsh was saying, they took that power away. They said, no, that doesn't matter. I don't care how much you kick and scream. You cannot do that, period. So that's one of the powers they took away. And they can also give powers, too. Like, one of the amendments gives the powers of the people in the states to vote for senators. That's the power they actually gave. What's that?
To own a firearm.
To own a firearm. That's part of the Bill of Rights. It's the second one. So, right to bear arms. All right. Let's get back to the topics. Away from that. Okay, so we're still on Federalists. So we got to federalism, we hit Federalists, so we know federalism is a type of government. We know Federalists are the supporters of that government. Now we have the Federalist Papers. So we're on the last one that I talked about. Federalist Papers. So, what did some of the Federalists do to support the Constitution, specifically James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay? What do you tell me?
Those papers.
What they do? Yeah, they wrote them, right? So they wrote the Federalist Papers. What were the Federalist Papers? You want to get the definition?
Oh, they were, papers, okay, so they wrote by them.
They were wrote by these guys, yeah.
They were to be sent out, and so that like, everybody can read them.
Yeah.
And then they get the hint, and then kind of coax them into it.
Nailed it. Perfect. Yeah, these are our supporting documents. These are essays written by these three men: James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay.
I'd like to have them write my essay.
You want to run their essay? And probably be good writers, huh? So, these three guys are the Federalist Papers. So again, let's head back to the outline. Federalism, a type of government. Federalist, a supporter of that government. The Federalist Papers, what would we call that?
Persuasive writing.
Persuasive writing, that's fine, yeah. Documents to support this government. So, again, once you know the word federalism, it all falls into place. You just got to kind of say it to yourself a few times. So, on your test, you're going to see these 4 definitions. Just read them out loud to yourself and just connect them in your head. Because if you don't pay attention, they could be easy to mix up. So, be really careful. Alright, so, Federalist Papers. Our big red word, you guys have already got it written down. There's a definition. If you want to write the real definition down, you may, or you can put it in your own words, doesn't matter. But it's a series of essays written to support the Constitution. A series of essays written to support the Constitution. Okay. Where are they published? I mean, we didn't have, we didn't have commercials, we didn't have radio ads. Today you see President Obama and Governor Romney smiling on an ad almost every 5 seconds when you walk out to the school building. So they didn't have that, so what do they publish them in? Kinsey? What were they published? Like, what was the lifeline for news back then? We still have them today. A newspaper. Hit it. Right, nail on the head. They published them in newspapers. Very good. And later they were collected and published into books. But originally they were put in newspapers. Back then, I know it's different today. I used to read the paper a lot more than I do now, unfortunately, because they get all my news from online. It's so much easier. But now, yeah, it was all newspapers. It's a little fun fact. So, we're going back, so Federalist versus Anti-Federalist. We kind of hit the Federalist part. We all know who Federalists are, right? What's a Federalist?
People that support federalism.
People who support federalism. What's federalism?
A type of government led by the government and states that develop the power.
A type of government, states, and the national or central government, like Welshington said, share power. Very good. More of the Federalist Papers? Anybody?
A series of essays combined and used in newspapers too.
So again, perfect. A series of essays to support the Constitution. So, these 3 things are connected, and Anti-Federalists are connected as well. And we said it before, Anti-Federalists. We know what Federalist is for the Constitution. What does anti mean? Not, no, against. So whenever you see anti something, it means they are not for that thing that follows their name. So in this case, they're not for federalism. So a quick definition, if you guys want to write it down: against the Constitution, and they supported state government. So they're not just against the Constitution, but they also support state government. Jeremy, what's up? Jacob, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't even think we have a Jeremy in the school. We'll just, yeah.
2 slides ago, it said Federalist versus Anti-Federalist.
Yeah.
You had Federalist spelled at the end with SIS.
Oh man, lock me up.
Six.
Whether we got a death row, I'll follow the next guy going up in October. Thanks for catching that. So,
What?
I misspelled Federalist. So, Federalist, if you want to spell it right, it's right here. My bad. I'm having to blame Prezi actually, because it has spell check and they didn't catch it apparently. Alright, anyway. So, anti-federalism. Against the Constitution, supported state government. Most of got that written down. Okay, same thing, we're gonna identify the characteristics. Now, no, same thing though, take 25, 30 seconds, kind of think about it, read it. It's on your book, so everyone should be able to answer it. And that's all, sorry, there's 4 characteristics now. So, 4 characteristics. Alright. Easton, get us rolling.
Others thought the Senate might turn into the powerful powers.
Alright. What was the one you said? Say it loud so everyone can hear you.
It says, others thought that the Senate might turn into the powerful, I don't know how to say that word.
I think you're on number 2.
Hierarchy? Yeah.
Where are you reading this out of? I need to focus right here, man. Alright, so who can tell me again? So someone give me one. They're on the board now, so there you go.
Oh, I'm copying now.
I'll give you the first one. Important political powers stay with states. So it's kind of, so what does this represent? What old, like, now what document does this represent that we've already talked about? Eric?
The Articles of Confederation.
Right, Articles of Confederation. They supported states. So we got the Articles of Support States. Number 2. What we got there? Jim?
Let's see. There.
What's that?
Not there anymore.
Oh.
Wanted the legislative branch to have more power than the executive.
Alright, say that one more time so we're near you.
Wanted the legislative branch to have more power than the executive.
Okay, so I need to write this down too. You should have 2 points written down now. Legislative branch has more power than the executive branch. So, when we're talking about executive branch, who are we talking about?
President?
Yeah, Preston's right. We're talking about the President of the United States. He's the exec. When we're talking about the legislative branch, who are we talking about? Anyone can say it. Legislative. Yeah, the lawmaking's right. So who makes the laws in this country? What 2 groups? Yeah?
The Senate and the House of Representatives.
Perfect.
And Congress.
Yep, Congress. So, Senate and House of Representatives, they're Congress, and anti-federalists wanted Congress to have more power than the execs. Why do you think that was? Everyone gotta think about it. Calling somebody. Why would anti-federalists want Congress, the law-making authority, to have more power than the guy who would enforce the laws? Why would they want that? Eric?
They thought that if the executive or the president became too powerful, he might become a king or a tyrant.
Yeah, basically that's it. They did not want a king, they did not want a tyrant. Because again, who did we just rebel against?
British.
The British, and who they have?
The king.
The king, right. So they didn't want that. Alright, number 3. Who's got
That's
it?
exactly number 3.
Is it number 3? No, really? Oh, there you go. So,
Um,
so okay, very good though. You connected it. Number 2 kind of leads into number 3. They wanted legislature to be more powerful than the executive because they feared a strong executive. They didn't want the executive to become a king. Why are we so afraid of kings though? What's the big deal about kings?
They don't want one person to have all the power.
What's that?
They don't want one person to have all the power.
Okay, well, they don't want one person to have all the power. Well, here's the thing about Great Britain. The king didn't make all the calls. They had parliament. They still had more government official. It wasn't just a king. So, why else would we not want a king? What's that big thing about king? I mean, they had a lot of power. How do we get kings?
just
By
thinking
family,
like-
What's that?
family.
Yeah, bloodline, family, rulers. And I would say they didn't want the executives to become so powerful that his family would just continue to become the president. They'd still be voted, but they'd have a lot of influence. Because we've had two president pairs who are father and son. Anybody know that?
Bush and Bush.
Bush and Bush, and who else?
Kennedy, Roosevelt.
The Adams family.
What?
So
John
our
Adams.
Wait.
Yep. So we've actually had it already too. And then there's a lot of family, like Theodore Roosevelt was actually on the. I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot right now. I think he was a nephew of FDR. Or the other way around. I'll have to double check. I'm gonna double check that before I say anything.
FDR.
Alright, so to keep on moving along, so we got 7 minutes left. Number 4, the Constitution needed a Bill of Rights. That's what we're gonna get into next. So, write that one down. The Constitution needed a Bill of Rights. Hear the noise? Come on, man. I'm not talking just for my own health. I already know this stuff. I'm here for you. Now I'd be out in the streets just, telling my facts to girls and picking up girls' my awesome history facts. Works, tell you.
What, historydating.com?
Yep.
Try that.
HistoryNerd.com. Look it up. It's for history nerd singles.
Okay, I'll look it up.
I
Yep.
should.
Oh man. Alright, so Bill of Rights. If you did not like the Constitution, what would you do to approve it? What were the Anti-Federalists saying the Constitution lacked? What do you think, Kenzie? I'll give you a clue that's right behind me. A Bill of Rights, right. What does a Bill of Rights mean? What is a Bill of Rights? What is our Bill of Rights? What is it? Welch?
Just a list of rights.
A list of rights for who?
Us.
Citizens, us, people, right. So if you wanted to approve it, what did the Anti-Federalists ask in order to ratify the Constitution? I know that's an old word, but what does ratify mean again? Yeah, remember the definition from your last class. So ratify, approve. So so again, Kinsey, what do you think the Anti-Federalists wanted to approve the Constitution? A Bill of Rights, right. See, you got it. Be proud of your answer. So, Bill of Rights.
That's right.
We're going to talk about George Mason real quick. Yep. He was one of the ones that demanded a Bill of Rights. He wanted a Bill of Rights. So George Mason, again, can you write his name down right here in the outline? Write that definition down real quick. We are starting to get out of time, and I still want to review, so write this down real fast. We'll talk about it in a second. We were going to say that we're going to talk about the Bill of Rights later too, anyway, so it's all right. So George Mason, an avid anti-federalist from Virginia who would not support the Constitution unless it included the Bill of Rights.
A wealthy person.
George Mason. He was from Virginia, and he was actually, a lot of people, like your book says it, and a lot of historians say it, one of the most influential, if not the most, right next to George Washington, from our influential politician from Virginia. People listened to what this guy said. A lot of people respected his opinion. So when you have a heavy hitter like him, who comes up and say, hey, I don't support the Constitution. I don't think it's right. I think it needs a Bill of Rights. So he was an anti-federalist. What was an anti-federalist again?
Person who
With the government.
was against the Constitution.
Yeah, a person against the government. Not against the government, but a person against the federalistic government. They did not want they wanted a government. These guys are politicians. They were part of the government. So they weren't anti-government, they're anti-federalist. And what is a federalist?
A person who wanted that government, the Constitution.
A person who supported federalism.
A person who supported federalism, which is
Constitution.
Jill?
Government,
Don't take notes on your shoe because you'd be writing on your paper.
government shared power between the state and federal.
Awesome, yeah, the governments share power between the states and the central or national government. Very good. Our George Mason's up there right now. Alright, real quick, what are some characteristics of federalism? In a second. Alright. Well, I'm sorry, not federalism, but federalist. What was the characteristic? Name one at least. What you got up front?
They,
Yep.
they supported removing powers from states.
Supported removing power from states. Nice. What about anti-federalist? What was their characteristic? Yeah?
They were against Constitution.
They're against the Constitution. Good. And George Mason was a big anti-federalist. Still got that question, Easton?
Oh, yeah. Why is in every old painting they have their hand in their pocket thing, like right here?
I don't know. It's kind of maybe it's a formal thing. Just makes themselves look good. Just, you know, kind of puff out the chest, put your hand in there, make it look like you're a fly or something. I don't know. Maybe he's holding a gun.
That's exactly what his class. Is there somebody that like had a painting, he's like really famous, and he had his hand in it?
Yeah. And we're not gonna write it down. We're done taking notes, but we're gonna still talk a little bit about Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights. How many amendments were in the Bill of Rights? 10. No, 10. Well, you almost got like 26. Or we don't have 26 anymore. We actually have 27. But what do we have 27 of in our Constitution? Amendments. The Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments. The first 10 amendments are called the Bill of Rights. Does anybody know how many amendments were proposed in the Constitution? The first,
7.
no,
8.
more than 10.
18,
33.
16,
Way too much.
13.
12.
Right, everything.
12 amendments. Anybody know what those the other two were? There's 12 amendments. Two did not get approved.
You can have those that didn't get approved.
No. What?
Or the two that didn't get approved.
The two that didn't get approved?
I didn't like
But you also want to get.
What? Alright, well, we'll talk about the Bill of Rights later. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Anybody have any final questions about federalism, anti-federalist? I didn't say go yet. George Mason, Bill of Rights. Remember, even though federalism is in 4 different words, you just gotta connect it all. It gets confusing.
Can we call them the feds instead?
I expect 100% on all of you. What's up?
Oh,
Feds?
what?
As long as you don't get
Yeah,
confused.
okay.
The feds today are federal government, I guess. It's the opposite.
We should be able to finally go.
How'd it go?
I think well, now everyone's in their seatbelt again.
It is.
Morgan!
Morgan is.
Alright, guys, are out of here. Have a good day.